Hey guys, this exercise is the flat dumbbell fly. And primary muscle group is going to be working on your chest, and it's actually going to be working on the outside of your chest, or the outer sweep. And your secondary muscle group, you're going to feel a little bit in your shoulders, but primary really is just going to be your chest. This exercise is really good when you're isolating your chest and you don't want to use a lot of your shoulders and your triceps. It is also very good to really stretch and expand your chest out. So let's go ahead and get started. So you notice the first part of this exercise is actually a two-part. The first part is when you're coming down, you're actually getting a full stretch. The second part of this exercise is when you're coming back up to get that contraction. And notice how low Dan goes on the bottom when he's trying to stretch out his chest. Now you want to go as low as you feel comfortable with, so this way you can get a full range. Dan just so happens to be very flexible, and so he has a wider range of motion than a lot of people. So he's getting as deep as he can to really go ahead and stretch his chest out and to allow your chest to appear to be wider because he's really targeting that outside. Notice also that the dumbbells are aligned right down the middle right here, as if it formed a line. A lot of times you'll see guys have the dumbbells too far high or too far low. You want to keep it to where it's aligned to each other and it forms like a line. And the last thing you want to look at is where Dan's wrist is. Some guys will go ahead and bend their wrists, so what happens is their forearm is taking all the stress and the chest is not taking the stress. Notice how straight Dan's wrist is as he's coming up. So this way he really targets his chest. Okay, that's good, Dan. So, some of the incorrect forms and common mistakes that guys make when it comes to doing the fly is they don't get enough of a stretch. That would be the first one. So what happens is when they come down, they'll come down to just right here, and then they'll come back up. They'll come just right here and back up. So they're not stretching their chest enough, so they're barely, it wouldn't even be ineffective at all. So you have to really get a good stretch, and then you work on the contraction coming up. Another common mistake that guys make on this is the wrist that I was talking about. Notice that if I go like this, I'm actually using my forearms to stress the weight, and it's taking pressure off my chest. So you want to keep the wrist straight, chest out, so this way you can really feel your chest. A tip you can actually do is, notice how my wrist is straight right now. You can actually curve your wrist out like that. Let me show you guys again. Curve your wrist out like this a little bit, so when you come down, you actually stretch your chest and contract your chest even more. So that's a little tip that you can do to really take it to the edge and really get that good full stretch. Another modification you can do with this exercise is when you're coming down, get a good stretch, but as you're coming up, you don't have to have it actually touch in the middle. You can actually leave about a foot of room right in between here. The reason why is because from this point of the exercise to this point of the exercise, you're not really stressing your chest too much because you're not stretching it anymore. So it looks like this. You're coming down, and you come up to right here. Down, and up. Down, and up. Anything you want to add to this exercise, Dan?
Yeah, one thing I noticed is that back when I was very inflexible, I didn't get much benefit out of this exercise because I couldn't go down that far.
Right.
And I got more as I got more flexible. Are there any ways that that guys can develop that chest flexibility so that they can really get that stretch?
Best thing to do is to start off to what's comfortable for you on the range of motion. Everybody's range of motion is a little different, but as you start to stretch more often and as you get better at this exercise, you'll realize that your muscles can go a little farther and a little farther. Dan's been doing flies for a long time now, and so he has a real good range of motion, and he's able to get all the way down. So in the beginning, guys should go ahead and just go to what's comfortable, because if you try to go ahead and stretch too much, you may actually injure yourself. You may actually rip your pectoral or stretch your shoulders too much. I think there's something else that we want to cover. I actually see this a lot of times with guys when they first start doing these exercises. They actually they actually bend their elbows too much to where this exercise almost appears like a press, and it'll look like this. So when they come down, they actually come down like this. Notice how my elbows are almost at about 90 degrees, and then they come back like this. So this exercise is actually, it's not a fly and it's not a press either. It's kind of like an in-between, and it's not very effective. So make sure that when you come down, you want to keep your elbows bent just a little bit and get that full range of motion. You don't want to lock your elbows out either, and because if you do, this is actually going to stress too much of your shoulders and too much of your biceps. So make sure you have just a slight bend in your arm, so this way the pressure will flow right to your chest. And that is it for the dumbbell fly.